Welcome to this live tribe call today, gentlemen. And our topic today, how to be in masculine frame without being a robot. How to be in quote unquote masculine frame without being a robot. And why women are fueled by emotional range, how to help her feel safe and attracted, and what to do with your own emotions. Now, I'd love for the men that are here live to punch a 1 into the chat if you've even heard of the concept of masculine frame. I want to get an idea of where everyone is that's here live. So put a 1 into the chat if you've heard of the concept. Right? So should be seeing a bunch of 1s in the chat. Yeah, there we go. You've even heard of the concept of masculine frame. Very good. And let's take this one step further. Punch a 2 into the chat if you are actively working on your masculine frame, what that means to you. Maybe you have questions on it, but you're actively thinking about your frame day to day, week to week, month to month. You're doing some type of work, some type of conscious work, or journaling, or speaking with other men about this, or practicing skills to be more in a masculine frame. So punch a 2, 1.99. Steph, I love it, man. So yeah, punch a 2, a 2 into the chat, or 1.99 if your name is Stefan. You got to round down, apparently. If you're working on masculine frame in some context. Very good. Lots of guys. Awesome. Very cool. So yes, welcome to Live Tribe. We've been doing these calls since the beginning of the pandemic to connect with men, connect with you, and connect with men all over the world, as we had been more isolated than ever, of course. And a lot of men still feel more isolated than ever, whether she's separated right now, or she doesn't want anything to do with you, or the two of you are coming back together and you sort of feel like you have a renewed shot at this relationship, a renewed feeling of version 2.0, not only within the relationship, but within yourself. And masculine frame is about you. It's certainly, there are influences, of course, by her and things around you, but you control your masculine frame, whether someone else enjoys that or not, whether you are of integrity or not. You're still going to have a frame if you consider and work on it. Now, every man here wants to have a healthy, growing, self-reliant masculine frame, I believe, and that's why you're here. That's why you're in the Good Guys to Great Men and the Great Men Move Mountains community. Ralph Waldo Emerson, no one can bring you peace but yourself. Now, there's lots of influences out there, right? I'd rather have money and have the problems of having money than being absolutely broke and having the problems of being broke. So yeah, there are influences in the world, certainly, but we are here to bring peace to ourselves. That's what I believe. That's what we believe, that we can control our own experience, our own narrative in our mind of how we see life. Yeah, Gary, thanks for raising your hand, buddy. Come on in, please. Couldn't unmute yourself.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for having this and just kind of give you, you said you would just wanted to get an idea of where to go and start talking, right? So I just want to pace out my situation there and kind of a little bit of a crossroads with my wife. So
yeah, please go for it, man. Situation. It's good to see you. Yeah,
okay,
go for
it. It's really kind of fucked up, really. January 27th, my wife attempted suicide, obviously unsuccessful. Put her into like a facility for like a month. She went up to Santa Cruz, California, had a friend of a friend stay at their house for a couple months. Supposedly was doing intensive outpatient therapy. Ended up just doing therapy, whatever. She just wanted to be away from me, I guess. And, so she's really in this world of trying to get her own mind together and get her own life together. And I've been working with Dan Dorr, we're trying to sort all this out. In the meantime, about 3 weeks later, I got diagnosed with throat cancer. So I literally just came back from surgery. I'm still in the hospital right now, getting ready to leave. So she's driving down from Santa Cruz last night. She's living in, I don't know if you guys know California, but Southern California, Lisa Viejo is right near Laguna Beach, where we lived for the last 4 or 5 years, right? Really nice area. I ended up selling the house there, moving to our house in Las Vegas, and I'm living in Vegas, running our business. So we sell tequila for a living. And we were both working this business at the same time. I guess she just got too stressed out and too overwhelmed and basically quit, right? So, but in doing this now, suddenly this goes back years into our relationship. And so there was stuff that she hid from me that I never knew for years, right? So we're trying to figure out, can we even make this work? Her idea is that she's going to get her own apartment, live in Aliso Viejo. I'm going to live 268 miles away in Vegas. I mean, granted, it's an easy flight back and forth. It's a 45-minute, $30 flight each way, so I can get back and forth fairly easily. But how do we? Is it even going to be possible to work through this kind of distance? And if any suggestions of anybody's been through this sort of situation before, we are talking. She does say she loves me. She does say she doesn't want to get divorced. She just needs to put down her own roots, and she needs to feel her own security. And she went right from a marriage with her first husband when she was 21, and before she was even divorced, we got married like right after she got divorced. Right, I met her, and she got divorced 4 months later. We were living together 7 months after that, so we kind of went kind of fast. And she never really had her single time. So not that she wants to be single. She says she doesn't want to date anybody else or be out with anybody else, but she wants to work through our relationship. Do you guys think this is possible? I'd like to have any kind of input on what your thoughts are, as far as, I know it's going to involve a lot of work. I mean, my questions to myself are, how much work do I want to put into it? How much, do I want to expose myself? My business is about to blow up, so there's a money situation here. Do I want to participate in, tens of millions of dollars, or do I want to just shut her off now and give her $1 million or two and let her go? So those are kind of like a lot.
Yeah,
I know I covered a
Gary,
lot of
thanks for getting
ground.
us started out. Why don't you start us off with something hard, man? Give it. I'm just joking.
Right?
Yeah. So okay, let's
I mean,
let's
I'm
do
very
one thing at a
masculine. I
time.
mean,
First of all, so
I
let
don't
me
have
jump
any
in. Gary, let
problems.
me
Like,
jump in.
what?
Pause
Sure.
for me. Pause. Okay, pause for me. So let me
So,
jump in. First of all, my heart is absolutely with you. That's tragic of what she's going through, and it's tragic what you're going through. So first of
yeah.
all, how are you feeling right
Check
now?
out
Or
that scar. Look
so,
at that.
hey Gary, you still there? You with me?
You guys see that? Yeah, can you see that gash?
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, wow.
Look at that. Neck to neck. It's like an
Man, it looks
Italian
like
necktie.
yeah, it looks like you got your throat slit, right?
It's gross. Yeah. What
Damn,
happened?
dude. So how are you? How are you feeling right now?
I feel pretty good. I've got some pain meds in me, but I picked up the call. And I was like, yeah, let's get on. Why not? But they had to take a big old chunk out. It was like the size of a golf ball. It was a cancer node, and then they took my
Dang.
tonsils out too.
Dang,
Yeah,
that's
so I'm
crazy.
talking with a
That's
little
crazy.
friend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had cancer on my scalp when I was 19 and they had to go back 4 different times.
yeah.
So, finally tell me they got it all kind of thing. And not the same as you, but I've been in that
Well, I think
I've been in the cancer
all
ward,
you guys, I'll give everybody hints of advice. The cancer I got is HPV cancer from eating pussy.
Now that is a
And you
humble
can Google
brag.
it. It's
If
an
that's not
epidemic.
a humble brag, Gary,
It is.
I don't know what is, man.
It is. It's an epidemic. It's literally an epidemic for guys in their 50s, and it lays dormant until you're like 50, 55, and then it just suddenly shows up.
Man,
And I
so eat all
swear,
the pussy you can
to talk
before you're
about,
50 and 55 and then just call it good.
yeah,
Just go
yeah.
skydive off a
That's,
cliff or something.
hey,
So
I'm
what
a
are you trying to
giver,
tell us,
man.
Gary?
I am a giver. That's for sure. So
Wow, this is not how I expected this call to start. Okay, good stuff. Now, I know you're on pain meds, so I'm not going to try to unfold the 19 things you put on the table for us. But
yeah,
what's the one biggest concern that you have right this moment? What's the biggest fear on your mind?
she's just leading me on and playing games with me, and just maybe try to hang on for some money.
Okay, let's pretend that that's true. Let's pretend it's another dimension. Okay, it's like Back to the Future. You went back in time and then forward in time, and now you're in another dimension. And you know for certain that she's fucking with you. You know for certain that she's just riding out that HPV pussy eating face of yours.
Uh,
I'm not sure where
yeah.
to go with this, Gary. She's riding this out. She's using you. Let's just play that game. Okay.
Mhm.
Then what would you do if you knew that for certain, which you do not? Okay, and I don't have insider information or anything. Okay, so let's just pretend that that's true. What would you do?
Get divorced.
Okay,
I
and
drop her.
you said something about the money, so you just split the money down the middle or whatever.
Yeah, give her whatever she deserves.
Okay. And then, so that sounds like it's no brainer. Okay. And then what would you do? Then what would happen in your life? What would your life look like after that?
Oh, just, keep running my tequila business, go market it in Europe, and have a bunch of girlfriends. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
good news about being an older, good looking guy with, money and smarts is women aren't too far behind. I mean, I
Okay.
keep getting,
Okay.
I swear, I mean, I'm getting
I,
hit on
I
more now than I ever did in my 30s or 40s.
sure, buddy. Sure. So that sounds like you're not afraid of it. You're not afraid of divorce, it sounds like.
No, no, definitely not.
Okay. So
I'm,
what
I'm
is it
in,
about?
especially like a marriage anyway.
So what do you fear about her potentially using you then, if it's not fear of divorce?
Oh, it would hurt. I do love her and I do want to work this out. I just don't want to be, I don't want to be led on and then, have her have this grand plan that she just finally executed when she got around to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would
Okay,
hurt.
let me jump back into this dimension now, Gary. I'm going kind of fast. All right. Has anyone
Yeah.
seen the cartoon Pinky and the Brain? It was like a little bit
Oh
late
my
for
God.
me. It was a little bit later,
Yeah,
but my kid watched it.
I
Have
think
you,
I am.
hey Gary, have you heard of Pinky and the Brain, that cartoon?
Yeah.
Where the
Well,
brain
that's
is
right.
like, yeah, the brain is always scheming. The little mouse is always scheming, and Pinky's the like dumb brother, I think, right? That goes along with them and just kind of. So you don't want to be used like, you don't want to feel like she's the brain and conspiring in all these malicious ways against you. Is that the case? That's what you're worried about?
Yeah, I mean, just come forward now. Just tell me the truth now. You know,
Right. So do you
but,
now? I'm gonna ask you a
but
real
she's saying that
question.
she
I
doesn't
and I
know.
don't know.
She's
I
saying she
don't know
doesn't
your
know how
wife.
she feels.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't know your wife, but is she like a mastermind evil genius that manipulates everything in the world, and she's got all her shit together that much where she could actually like manipulate you and you wouldn't know it? Do you think that's the
No,
case?
I don't think she's evil. I know she's extremely smart and she's very strong. And I think that she has the ability to. Does she know how much I love her? Yeah, she does. She has the ability to abuse that, probably. Yeah, so she could easily be abusing my love for her and just kind of let me twist in the wind while she figures herself out. And maybe she does. I mean, there's two sides to this. Maybe she does really love me. She's fucked up in the head and she's just trying to figure herself out. So the only
That's
thing
where I was
that I
gonna
put up with
go.
so far is give her more time.
Well, that's where I was going to go. You just went where I was going to go, which is, what if it's a mix of all that together? What if it's a soup of all that together? What if she loves you but also hates you right now? What if she, yeah, it's really nice to have your money, but she really wants to feel free? What if she really is confused but also really feels comfortable with you? What if it's all of those things at the same time? What if that's the case?
Then I guess we just have to wait.
So wait for
Right.
what?
Just give her more time so we figure this out. I mean, this is just kind of like all happening this weekend right now. She's finally moving back to this area where we lived together, for 4 years. We finally got rid of our last kid. He's in high school, graduating high school in June. And, you know, so
Yeah,
she has nothing
Gary
holding her
and
back.
Stefan put into the chat. It feels like you have masculine frame pretty nailed down. So I'm actually going to go to the next slide, and this is for all of us, of course. This is for every man here. So you tell me. This is my definition of masculine frame. I typed this up this morning. I've been doing this work for 7 years in private practice. Worked with thousands of guys, and so I typed this up this morning. My opinion of masculine frame. The first piece: you are the protagonist of your own story. Like, you're the center of your story and you have a vision of what that story looks like. So you're the protagonist of your own story. You feel confidence in your direction and your purpose in life. In other words, you know what you want and you go for it and you say it. You know what you want and you say it. And finally, you're aware and you're in control of your emotions. Doesn't mean you have no emotions. It doesn't mean you never share emotions. It means you're aware of and in control, so you know when to bring those out. So, Gary, would you say you're strong or weak in any one of these particular spots here? Confidence in your direction,
Probably,
purpose.
probably weakest in controlling of my emotions.
Okay. So what does that
I
look
get,
like? How so?
I get a little bitchy sometimes, and I'm like, what, just fuck it. Let's just forget it. I'm just gonna move on down the road. But I don't really mean it. I don't say it like that, but sometimes in my head, it just like, this isn't worth all the hassle. There's plenty of other women out there. I might as well just call it a day and move on, you know. And
Yeah.
that's just my 13-year-old boy coming out and just being a, punk ass.
Yeah, you're super aware of yourself, Gary. You're not, there's no trouble with awareness. It seems like control, like you said. So what's the story in your mind? You told us already. She's using me. I'm a chump. I'm not moving fast enough. I should just go eat other eat other pussy around the world. You know, because it
Yeah,
doesn't need to end at 55, Gary. Just keep going, baby. Yeah. So that's the
right.
story in your mind. Is that's right?
Yeah, it could be the story. I mean, the other portion of the story is I still love her very much, and I do want her back. And I know we could get this back. We could be best friends. I don't know what kind of woman she's going to come back as, though. I don't know, who she's listening to and what she's thinking, because I haven't seen her in 3 months. Really, we've talked on video phone, here and there, but
Yeah, Gary, that's
yeah,
another good point, is that a lot of us grow as men in our understanding of relationship and who we are and what we want. And often she's not growing at this point necessarily, certainly not maybe toward the relationship. So that's a question you have, is does she even want this? Is she growing toward this? And that'll start to sort itself out over time. And we'd have to talk about this more of what I mean there, Gary, but I'm going to move on to David here in a second. So in
yeah.
however long it's been, 10 minutes within Masculine Frame, we really flushed out that control of your emotions and patience, and those emotions being a part of your plan, the plan of the story of you, that why are you giving her time? You're giving her time because you're a king and you're working out lover in your life and how you want to lead into the next chapter with her, it sounds like. And you know that
I don't want to.
it
I don't
cannot
want to
be
throw
in
away
a little boy
17 years
way.
together. I don't want to just throw away our family and our 17 years together, because we had a blip, because I wasn't willing to wait, you know, six
Yeah.
months, let's call it, or a year even. I mean, in the course of 17 years, that's a blip, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's
I
right.
got plenty of shit to do. I'm building a hell of a business, and I got plenty of stuff to do. I mean, thought crossed my mind, hey, I could always have girlfriends on the side if that's what I really did, but that's against my morals, and my integrity. So that doesn't work for me either.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
hear. So you're in the
uh,
right place. I'm glad that you're here with us and you're doing your work. We can tell, Gary.
I'm trying. I'm just, need support. I need like guys to say, I'm down. I just saw a text that popped up. Since some days I had that. I say, fuck it. And then you think about it and you're like, well, fuck. I
Yeah,
can't say
yeah.
fuck it. I gotta say fuck. I'm
Every one
just
of these
stuck.
guys
Stuck.
supports you. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for getting us started, Gary. I didn't press mute on you.
You're welcome. All right.
Hope you heal up fast, buddy. Yeah, David, come on in. I think you raised your hand earlier, and are you in the Millennium Falcon?
I am.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And yeah, so good morning everybody. And I was just kind of responding to Gary because I'm in a little bit of a similar situation. My wife didn't have the issues, the mental health struggles that yours did with, attempted suicide and things like that. But we had a lot of strife in our marriage over the past few years related to money stresses and kid stresses and all of crazy stuff, because like my stepson was kind of out of control and it was causing a huge division between us. We're in the second year of living apart. She's in Utah and I'm in the DC area because she took a job. She retired from work and took a job out there. And the plan is eventually I will probably move out there. But we kept things separate for a time, mainly for practical reasons, because she didn't know how long she was going to stay out there, yada 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 yada. But at any rate, this 2 years apart has been great for both of us because it's been able for me to it's made it possible for me to look at what does it take for me to get into that, as Steve always talks about, that framework of the mindset of the happily divorced man. And that's been a hard thing to do because and it took me, because I would get angry and I was like, okay, fuck, let's just get divorced. Fine, if you're just going to be that way, if you don't give a shit, fine, I'm done with you too, fuck you. We have plenty and it comes from her too, lots of petty backbiting like that and lots of little boy shit coming from me. And little boy really was the thing. And, you know, this might not be applicable to you, but I know that one of the things that I discovered in my own therapeutic work that I've been doing is realizing how that I have complex PTSD from childhood, and that was fueling a lot of my negative responses that was escalating things. And so started, but it's only from being apart and both the kids are in college now, and from having all this time alone, that I've really been able to do that kind of work and get myself into the right frame of mind. And then finally, the person who refused to go to therapy, my wife, and thought, well, I don't need to go to therapy. I'm successful and I make this much money and all this other kind of stuff. She now has started going to therapy and doing her work. And I've been to some sessions with her therapist, and she's, you know, realizing that, okay, she also had a part in this thing. It wasn't just that, you know, I was an explosive asshole. Yes, I was an explosive asshole, and that was part of the problem. But, you know, now we're getting into this frame where we can, we're getting into this frame of mind like, hey, maybe we actually do still love each other, and we actually do see the great things in each other. But it has been, and it's been great for her, both of us, to have all this time out of this environment, away from the house, away from the kids, because we're both doing our own work. And I'm hoping, Gary, that maybe your wife is doing her work, because if you're both doing that, then it's going to be okay. But the other part of the equation
So
for me
David,
is
hold on, pause for me, buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to take a breath, right?
Yeah.
Let me jump in. Fantastic to see you. I'm not sure if you and I have talked before. Have we talked before, David?
I think I might have. I don't talk directly. I think I might have been on some of your other Zoom calls.
Okay, fantastic. So I have a very serious question. How did you recruit the Millennium Falcon? Is there really smuggling containers underneath the floorboards okay, never mind. I'm trying to make a joke, David. Never mind. So
Even
hold on.
I get bored. Even I get boarded sometimes.
There we go. There we go. Thank you. You just like fulfilled all my dreams, David. So, so no, I do have a serious question for you. So when you found out within therapy, which I don't want to dig into necessarily childhood stuff, right? We're here to recognize what our past has been like and aim toward the future. How do we go for what we want? So with that said, when you've learned that you had this complex PTSD from childhood, which I'm fairly familiar with, so we don't need to describe it, but my question is, how did you then shift the narrative in your mind of those painful, traumatic events that happened in your, let's say, childhood or earlier in your life? How did you shift those to see them as a growth or potential for wisdom or a chance for you to learn in a different way or become a different man in the world? How did you shift that story?
Several different ways. Number one, I found a therapist online I'm part of his monthly group, and I found all his videos. I'm not a regular client of his, but a guy named Patrick Tian, who is phenomenal with this stuff. And I got into his stuff, and I was like, holy shit, this guy is in my head. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe I'm not evil. Maybe I'm not all these things that I was gaslit about since I was 4 years old.
Right.
The other thing I found was EFT tapping, which really enabled me to get this kind of clarity and help me to get, because I understood in principle from watching Steve's videos and reading Hold On to Your Nuts and all these things, all the things I needed to do. But in order to get myself in the frame of mind where I could really do those things and really feel secure in those things, I had to work through this other shit first. But I figured it out. There's also a great podcast called It's Not You, It's Your Trauma by a guy named Joe Ryan. And he's a very tough talking New York guy, and he swears a lot. So if anybody's bothered by that, don't listen to it. But it's great. And he's like, no, it's not your fault. You were around a lot of fucked up people, and it's caused you to behave in fucked up ways, you know, and he goes into that shit. So it was understanding a lot of this stuff and figuring and getting to these root causes, because I'd been in therapy for years for anxiety, depression, and everything, but I was treating symptoms, not root causes.
Right. Very well said. And those are awesome resources. So if I may ask again, how did you shift the story? How did you change that? I'm not the victim. I'm not the one that's all at fault. It's not all my doing. I'm not an evil person. So what did you switch it to?
Mainly, like, I got into the narratives. Like, I don't have any control over what she does or how she responds to me.
There we go.
I can't control that, but I can control my own shit. And I need to make sure that I'm on top of my own shit. And if I know that I'm doing my work and I'm being true to myself and to my values, and I'm being as respectful and understanding of her as I can, and that if she has a criticism or an issue to raise with me and she does it in a provocative, nasty way or something like that, I'm now in a frame of mind where I don't automatically react like, well, you really sound like a bitch. I'm not going to listen to that, even though I might be thinking that when she says it.
Yeah.
But getting to where I don't have those defense responses and I can just listen to her and I say, okay, so what I think you're trying to say is this. Am I understanding you correctly? And then I can filter out that bullshit and get to the essence of things. And I've gotten better at de-escalating.
Yeah, phenomenal. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's excellent. Very good, David. So where do you think that your challenge is right now, or where are you within this work for your own self? For you, would you say?
I've got a long way to go because I'm realizing how much of my life in my profession, in my relationships, all these other things is so rooted in toxic shame and trauma responses. And, now I'm working through kind of the grief and anger of wishing that it hadn't taken me 50 years to discover this shit.
Sure.
And thinking about working through the grief and the shame of all the stupid things said or all the cruel things I did or said, or how I overreacted in certain situations that made me feel like I was nuts or made people think I was crazy or whatever. And I'm in I'm in a healing phase, but also in a grief phase, and work through that anger, and
Yeah.
trying to get peace with that and figure out, okay, what can I do with this rest of my life? Has the first half of my life been a waste, or what can I do with this? Can I use something in this to help other people and improve my relationships, all that,
Yeah, really well said. This is a season of compassion for your own self. And
Yep.
as you said, healing and grief, and that's very important. You said explosive asshole earlier on. I definitely was an explosive asshole at times in my life, right? And so I can relate to that, David. And
Yep.
the forgiving ourselves is a process. Certainly,
Yep.
it's an honoring our own humanity. It's realizing that perfection is not the goal. Being a perfect robot is not the goal, no matter what she may say. And she has her, she being whatever woman is in our lives, or the wife,
Yep.
our wife, and she has all of her own stuff too. It sounds like you've
Yep.
come to have compassion for that as well, David.
I will say part of it is also, though, about there is a component that women often are not called to account for and expected to do. And I will say that sometimes I don't feel like Good Guys to Great Men puts enough onus on women in this particular area. And I'm referring to, I'm a big fan of Brene Brown. And one of the things she talks about is that women often are not willing to give men the space to be vulnerable and weak because they can't tolerate it. And, because she said that she realized, holy shit, I'm part of the patriarchy, when a and said, my wife and daughters would rather see me die on my white horse than see me weak.
Yeah, certainly. And Steve Horseman and I do talk a lot about shame, and Dan Dorr, of course, and all the coaches,
Yeah.
shame and this. Now, I don't want to get too, I don't want to get too off on a tangent, but I do want to go there for a minute, David, and for anyone else to jump
Yep.
in on this as well. Okay. So you said the words vulnerable and weak. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a woman doesn't have much space for us to be vulnerable. And then the word weak is different than vulnerable. So I want to go with the word weak. So what do you mean by weak? What's an example?
Being in a situation where you feel panicked, upset, and you don't have a solution for something, because you always feel like you're supposed to have the answers. She always expects you to have answers. She can't, you can't just get frustrated, because you know what? Sometimes, even no matter how controlled we are, no matter all these things, sometimes we need to just be able to throw something across the room and say, "Fuck," without her flipping out and thinking we're losing our minds.
Okay, so I disagree with you.
Okay, fine.
Now, like sometimes we might need to go to a place that's like going to provide safety for everyone around us and handle this in a mature way, right? And sometimes we're going to go in the woods and scream fuck into the air and chop a tree down just because, or go shoot shotguns out at the national grasslands or something and blow shit up. I do all those things too. Hey, but where I'm a little concerned, and you tell me, because I don't know you that well, David. So
Fine.
You tell me. This idea that I should just once in a while like blow up when I'm around her, and that should be okay. Like, sounds good to me, but it sounds logical, you know, like, yeah, once in a while, but that's going to freak a woman the fuck out. She's going to freak out. She's not going to be able to handle that.
Well, I think it depends on what you're blowing up about or what you're getting, you know.
Yeah. So say more for me. Go ahead.
I think it depends on the context. You know, I mean, you're just panicking irrationally about something, but you know, it's like, but if something really bad is getting crazy, you know, every once in a while you just need to go, I fucking cannot deal with this right now.
Sure. Like what?
And you need the space to be able to do that. Well, like my stepson being an asshole and her doing nothing about it, you know, or, you know, or, you know, things like that.
Okay, yeah, and my son was a lot, and I want to call on John here in a second, but David, my son was a handful his teenage years. I was in court multiple times with him. He's gotten thrown out of different schools.
Wow.
Right? I've always wanted to be an amazing dad. I've always like read books and everything else, right? That's why I'm in this field of teaching and psychology and child education and everything. But so David, I know what you mean. Okay. So let's say me once in a while being able to like, fuck, I can't handle this. Let's say that's, you know, doing average. Once in a while, I say that because I've said that, by the way. I've said, "Shut the fuck up" to his face. Not proud of that. That was not a good day. Like,
I've done that too.
Yeah, even me saying that here right now is like incredibly embarrassing, and I'm saying that because it's a part of my work. This was years ago, right? It's one of the worst times that I can think of as a father, and I had that moment of, well, I'm just going to unload all this. Didn't go very well, right? So let's say
but I would respectfully suggest that that's aggression unloaded directed at another individual, and that's different from just expressing frustration.
Sure. So here, let's go with where I'm going, and I need to jump a few steps to get us there fast,
Gotcha.
David. Okay, for this conversation, where I'm going is part of what I see, and tell me if you disagree. What I see of masculine frame is being in control of our emotions, having, and you've said some of these things already, confidence and direction, your purpose. How can I help this in the world now that I have more control of myself as a man and perspective as myself as a man? Basically, you were saying, how can I bring this into the world? How can I better my life? And you are being the protagonist of your story and that vision. And so we're kind of down to what we were speaking about a little bit earlier with Gary, is emotional control, it sounds like. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So with you, where do you find that edge is with like blowing your emotions out or sharing your emotions, and this, we can't be weak around our woman?
Well, you know, since we've been living apart, it's been a lot easier to avoid situations like that. And I will say that when we have had disagreements lately, and when I was out there visiting her and we got into kind of a prolonged disagreement, I can say that it didn't deteriorate into what it used to.
Yeah.
So I saw that as progress, and so did she. And she's like, that's probably the best fight we've ever had.
Nice. That's fantastic. That's where I was trying to take you, David, is honestly to hear some of your own praise around how far you've come.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she got mad and said some nasty things, and I got mad and said some nasty things. And, you know, I'm just like, okay. And I just said, I don't think either of us is helping this right now. It's shitty of you to say what you said, and it was shitty of me to say what I said. So can we get to what the real problem is instead of just saying shitty things to each other? Nice.
That's probably very different than conversations the two of you have had in the past, huh?
Yeah, it was well, fuck you, I'm going for a drive. Well, fuck you. No, I'm going for a drive. Fuck you.
Right. Yeah, gotcha. Thanks, David. Good stuff, man. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Hey, John, come on in, please. Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to to jump on the Brene Brown comment. It's been, I like Brene Brown, and probably listened to the same podcast or audiobook or whatever it was, and have a slightly different interpretation, or maybe it's come to life a little bit different for me. I think like I've certainly experienced the push and pull of my wife. We're separated right now, living apart, but like the whole, I need you to be emotionally available and vulnerable with me, and that makes me feel close to you, and that makes me feel intimacy with you. And then on my end, whenever I thought I was doing that and meeting that need, you would get like the disgust, or you'd get an interaction with like, I want to be your wife, not your therapist. And I always was in this mode for a lot of my marriage, where it's just like, Jesus Christ, like what do you want? You're like, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And I think one of the things I learned, particularly after starting this course, but just doing my own therapy, is like, I wasn't necessarily being vulnerable. I was, what I would call it is just sharing a lot of like thoughts and verbal diarrhea about everything going on in my head. And I think like if I could be empathetic and put myself in my wife's shoes, it'd be like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Like it wasn't focused, and it wasn't actually really saying anything about me or my emotional state. It was just kind of like a brain dump of anything that could have been going on in the week. So I think like realizing that I almost like separated the two things, because I do agree, my wife has even admitted, it was like, I have been like, I want you to be confident and I want you to share, but like, that's a conflicting statement. So true. But separate to that is also true that like, regardless of that, like even just being able to name my own emotions, being able to articulate what I need and say that to myself, regardless of anyone else, that was a huge like awakening for me, to say like a lot of those times where I thought I was being vulnerable, I was actually just taking a huge dump on the floor, like a metaphorical dump on the floor, and just expecting my partner to clean that up. And one of the things like I've been a lot better at is just being more like direct and actually saying like, how am I actually feeling and what do I need? And then saying that in like a confident, unapologetic way. It's not to say like everything's perfect, like on her end, even when we do talk in separation, and I come forward with like, this is what I think, and this is how I feel right now, and this is what I need from you, or just what I need from anything else. Like it's, sometimes she just does not have the patience to listen. And I think that would go into her point where like, I need to be better at that. And we've talked a lot about how I need patience from her. But that's just been like an interesting journey for myself, to go from like, holy shit, like all this time I thought I knew what I needed or what I was feeling and how to deal with that. But I really had no clue myself. So like, I couldn't really expect anyone to show up and deal with that. And then, yeah, as much as like, I want to be vulnerable for my wife, for anyone else. It's just I have a dog, and she has a sick belly, and she literally took a shit on the floor last night. And I was just thinking like, what a perfect like metaphor for like how that would, like, nobody wants to deal with that, let alone at 2 a.m. And oddly enough, that's, I was also really bad at picking moments. I would pick a 2 a.m. moment and say like, I need to get something off my chest. And then, no one's ready to receive some information like that at 2 a.m. So that's been the other thing too, is just right time, but being able to like choose the right message and articulate it, and even know myself, like what I'm trying to say first. So just wanted to,
John, good. Yeah, very well said. That's fantastic. So let me ask, how do you now, I have my little saying that I'll say in a moment, but how do you differentiate between this is just vomit or shit that I'm going to put on the floor expecting her to clean up, and something that's cohesively vulnerable? Or how do you frame that now? How do you think about that?
I try and filter it with like, do I actually know what I need out of this? Like, if I feel a certain way, or if I have a certain emotion, or if I feel like there's a gap, like, do I know what the solution is? Like, do I know what I need? Sometimes like I don't need anyone else to solve it. I might want to let someone in, like my wife in or a friend in, and say like, this is how I feel, this is what I need, and this is what I'm going to do about it. And I just want you to be aware, so you can maybe have some empathy for me. But particularly if I need someone else to like help me with it, like I need to know what that direction is. I think a lot of times like I would maybe have a loose idea of like how I was feeling or what I was missing, but I wouldn't really know what to do with it. And I would put that burden on the other person most of the time. And I think like, particularly for my spouse, like we've all got like work and stresses and whatever, and we're all dealing with stuff. So to have like some other person come to you with like here's a really ambiguous problem, solve it for me, which I think a lot of the time is really what it was. So I don't think I think there's times where like you want to seek advice and get perspective, but I feel like I should at least have a good idea of what the starting point is or what the possible solution is, at least most of the time. And I think that's been the distinction. It's like, if I can't articulate what I need out of this emotion or this feeling, then maybe I need to do some more thinking about it or filter it a bit more.
Yeah, very well said. That was one of the bullets here on this call of what to do with your own emotions. And you just nailed it extremely well. I look at it as she wants you to play in the realm of emotions and life, but she doesn't want to feel like you're drowning at the bottom of the ocean. Right. So if we dive into life and we go look at all the beautiful fish, we're snorkeling. Well, if we don't ever come up to get air for our own selves, it feels like we're drowning. We're drowning in emotional storm or challenges, or we're complaining. So to her, it feels like we're drowning. She doesn't want to feel like that. She wants to feel like we've dove into the depths of life and we've come up with our own perspective. And that's what you've talked about of, okay, what do I really want? How do I move forward from here with your own emotions? So John, where would you say that your challenge is right now in what we're talking about, or maybe in your scenario with your wife? Where's your edge?
The challenge right now, I think, is, we've almost reversed places, I think, a little bit. We basically had the big talk in September of last year, and October, November, December, beginning of January were really hard for me. And she, from my perspective, like looked like she knew what she was doing, and really seemed kind of like confident. And we were separated for the most part. But then I started this course. I also just started like reevaluating my own life. I had stopped doing a lot of the things I used to do, and I think we've all been there. Like, life gets in the way. There's always reasons to do something else. So just rediscovering myself really started to like occur more in January. I moved back into her house, and she was not ready to be together. So I kind of just stuck to my guns and said, well, like, it's fine, but I've been out for a while and I'm moving back into the house, and then we can figure out budget and you can rent a sublease or something like that, which is what ended up happening. And that wasn't a fun conversation, but I really just like stuck with it. And all those like little things together, I think, have led for me feeling a lot more confident, feeling like really okay with whatever goes on. And I think like she is now in some ways, and I can recognize it, like a bit, she looks the way I felt probably in the fall. And like I have an enormous amount of empathy. Like, she's not staying too far from me. We have started to see each other a little more regularly. We go on dates, and I know work is tough for her right now. On top of it, she's got a shitty family situation on her side of the family. And then there's us, and I know that's like a lot, and she gets overwhelmed quite easily. And I was talking to her the other day, and she kind of used the word like, I'm hanging by a thread. And my heart went out to her. And at the same time, though, like, she's been going back and forth about whether she wants to move back in here, and we want to try stuff. And I know she's afraid of like what happens if we make mistakes again. I made the comment, I was like, we're always going to make mistakes. I think it's just like how we respond to those mistakes. But work, friendships, I make mistakes all the time. But like what I'm dealing with now is this question mark of like, she, I think, wants a lot more time. She talked about like getting her own place and just selling the house and living independently. And I was kind of like, at that point, we don't have any kids. So I was like, at that point, like maybe this just wasn't the right thing. And we go our separate ways, like no hard feelings. And we already talked about like, really the house is the biggest asset. And so like the question mark for me is like, I want to be patient. I want to be empathetic, but at the same time, like, limbo land is real. I do feel like I'm on a bit of a hiatus. I do feel like a renewed energy, and I love her very much. But at the same time, like I think she needs to figure out what she wants too. And I can't decide that for her, and I don't want to force her to do anything, but I also don't want to carry a mortgage by myself, and like decisions have to be made. And so that's where I'm at. There's no like scary deadline or anything. We continue to talk, and support each other. But like we're very much in a weird sort of precipice right now.
Yeah, John, good. And the conversation, I want to ask you a question, but there's a different conversation of how do I handle limbo land and how do I take small steps away from that? And that's a different topic for a different time. But I want to ask you, so we could talk about that, or if another man has questions about that, post in the forum or reach out to me, because that's a question that came up there. But I want to ask, how did you switch your mindset from the roles are reversed now, basically, where you decided to move back in? You're standing up for yourself in a calibrated way. It sounds like you know what you want for your own self. How did you make that transition? There's guys listening right now that are wondering that question. How did you switch that mindset for yourself?
I guess, like, to be very candid and transparent, like, I don't have children, so I think that made it a lot easier for me. But beyond that, I think it got to the point where between like the courses and the work I was doing with men and my own therapy and just some reading, and also just being forced out of my comfort zone. I spent a lot of time with family, started to see like some friends show up to me like in ways I hadn't like experienced before. Part of that was like me being more open with other people and just like letting my guard down a little bit. And we talked about vulnerability earlier. Like, I started telling things to friends and family that I would never ever had said before. And I realized like I didn't have those types of relationships, mainly because I wasn't showing up or allowing those types of relationships to develop. So a lot of those things kind of like started to occur, and like one thing led to another. And then I made a decision to go travel. I work remotely. So I went to Mexico for 3 weeks on my own, and kind of like, I used to love traveling and got married, and that kind of like went away other than doing like a vacation. And it was just really nice to be in a warm spot with folks who didn't know me and be on my own and independent, and just like wake up every day going like, what do I want to do, and not have to like think about anything else. And I think all those things kind of together, as my trip was winding down in Mexico, the original plan was for me to move back home. My wife was like, I'm not ready to do that. And I know that was really stressful for her. And I just remember having a conversation that I probably would not have been able to have ever before, where I said like, and I actually posted about it in the divorce bomb thing, and Steve responded and gave me some good advice. But essentially I said like, if you need more time, like I get it. I've been living out of a suitcase since October. I think like I need a break. I'm not looking to like, I'm still happy to be cooperative, and maybe I come back for a month and you go somewhere for a month, or we'll split the house. I'll live in the basement, you go upstairs. I'm happy to talk about it, but like, I need to be home. I need to have a closet to put clothes in. I want to shower in my own shower. I want to watch my own TV, and I just need a chance to come home and reset. And that's like something I need, and I'm going to get. And like, yeah. She did not respond well to that. That was like one of the biggest blowups we had. And we had that remotely. Like I was still in Mexico, and it ended up with her booking an Airbnb for 3 months, really out of spite and anger. And I said like, look, like, put my name on the reservation. It's just like 2 blocks away. I'm happy to do a month at the Airbnb and you do a month at the house. And I'm totally open to that. And she doesn't like that. She likes consistency and routine. And she said, I'm just going to stay there. And I said, okay, that's what you want to do. Go for it. The door's always open. And we didn't talk for an entire week. And then I came back from Mexico, moved back home. I've been here since then. Since that argument, like, things have certainly gotten warmer, and we've talked about that argument and what that like meant for her. But to me, that was like a big turning point. It was like the first time, and I told her this too. I was like, I think you really reacted to that, because that was the first time like you did not get your way from me. Like, she was very much used to like me accommodating her and always really being patient. And that did not happen in that time. And but yeah, that was a hard conversation though. Like I several times during it, I thought like I would give in and just be like, fine, fuck it, stay in the house, I'll go somewhere else. But I didn't.
Hey, I'm so proud of you, John. It's important for us to have hills we're willing to die on. And if we don't have any hills we're willing to die on, and anywhere, any place within our life, then no one can respect us. A woman can't feel a respect or attraction for us if we don't have a hill we're willing to die on. And you found that through this work. You found that through empathy and compassion for yourself and for her. but I'm no longer living outside of a suitcase. So now that I've decided that, everything else is going to come after. We'll decide afterwards. You didn't use shame. You didn't use anger to cajole her, right? You were aware and in control of your emotions, but you knew what you wanted. It's amazing how once we come to that place of compassion, but standing up for who we are, that things can shift in our life. Like, I find that so like almost magical. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, you would have maybe never saw yourself having that conversation. And then you have that conversation and the dominoes fall in a different way. Yeah, John?
Yeah, I'd say generally, like I mentioned earlier, just like understanding my notions and what I need and being comfortable with being direct. There's things I'm telling my wife now that I never would have told her because I would be afraid of the reaction. And like I've on these like dates we go on, like they're not supposed to be heavy. We're supposed to just kind of have fun and relax, but like certainly we have to talk about the situation. And there's some like I've gotten to the point where like I will, kindly but directly say like what I think and what's on my mind and what I need. And I'm like learned a lot about outcome independence, and I don't care what the response is as much anymore. Like last week we went out for dinner, and this conversation, the second half, turned a little bit heavy. It was like productive though. And she said something, and I forget even what she said. I just remember responding. I was like, you can be very selfish. And if there's going to be a reset for this, like, I need you to be more patient, and I need you to be like more aware of like sometimes how you can. She grew up an only child, and there's a lot of trauma in her family. So she grew up a lot to have to fight for herself and protect herself. But I was just like, you're not in that situation anymore, and I need you to recognize that. And I think like I never would have said that directly to her, and that made her cry. And I felt bad that it made her cry. But she said something like, as she was crying, she's like, I needed to hear that, and I'm not mad at you, but that really hit me hard. And I, gave her a hug, and I was like, I'm glad I said it, but I'm sorry it's making you cry.
John, it seems like you're crushing masculine frame. Sounds like you're doing very well with deciding who you are, and things that need to be said, even if it makes her upset, are okay.
Thank you for that. There's a lot of work to do still. Things I don't know what's next week or the week after holds for me ever. But yeah, just for context though, like December and January was a whole like how I am now compared to if you were talking to me in January, I would have been in tears and just like probably not been able to get a sentence out.
Yeah. Well, glad you're here, man. This is why I do what I do. This is why we're here. I love it. Appreciate it. Good to see you. I'm going to share a few links. I do this every one of these live tribe calls. If you guys want to know how to get a hold of me or Steve or the other coaches, or you want some websites, I just punched it into the chat, and also it's on the screen here. You can take a screenshot, or if you're watching this recording, you can pause this and take a look back. Otherwise, if you're here live, you have those in the chat. And so if you haven't visited my website, greatmenmovemountains.com, or of course, if you want to reach out to me, greatmenmovemountains.com/contact. I also have a free Facebook forum you can join, over 300 guys in there. I do all of this along with Steve Forstman, Dan Dorr, and other coaches as well. So I know all those guys too. And it's a pleasure to see you guys here. All right, let's jump forward. I saw that, Brian, you had unmuted yourself earlier. I didn't know if you wanted to jump in. I pressed mute just for sound. I don't know if you intended to do that, but I'd love to say hi to you, Brian. Your face looks familiar. Have we talked before, Brian? If you come on these calls before, go ahead and unmute yourself, bud.
All right, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. There we
Sorry
go. Yep.
that.
Yeah.
It's my first time on a Zoom call on my phone, so I think I dropped the phone. And
oh no, no
I
problem.
didn't really
just
have
wanted
much
to
add, but
yeah, I wanted to make sure I hadn't recognized your face. Yeah, please. So say hey to us. What brings you here? What brings you to Good Guys to Great Men?
Well, I got that divorce bomb dropped on me in January, and it's been a long time brewing, but I guess I needed to hear it. And then I think she's been trying to tell me a long time, and yeah, that hit me hard. And I'm trying to do some work here, and a lot of things I've realized and take responsibility for. The masculine frame thing. I was that dog that shit on the floor, at 2 a.m. Quite often. Yeah, no one wants to deal with that. So just trying to be more even.
Yeah, I hear you, Brian. So, how are you doing day to day, week to week for yourself right now? You know, like getting outside, lifting weights, eating good food, sleeping. How are you doing?
You know, it's a roller coaster. I have good days, I have bad days. I'm just kind of one day at a time. Unfortunately, a lot of it's dependent on how she, reacts to me, which I hate. That this outside force kind of is controlling my life, and that's what I'm trying to work on is just kind of being my own rock here and showing up the way I want to show up. We still live together. We're not talking about our relationship at all, so I'm trying to leave her alone, and every now and then I fuck up and I'll pester her a little bit, and I don't get the answer I want, right? She's not able to give me one, so I just reminding myself of that. And it's weird. It's limbo land. Yeah, we're getting along sometimes almost better than ever, right? Because we're not talking and there's no expectation, but then there's nothing going on either. So
Yeah. Brian, the look on your face and the tenor of your voice reminds me of a time when I didn't really know which way was up. And that's why, yeah. And so I found the local group by Steve 8 years ago. If you guys don't know, that's how I found Steve Horseman. He's like 2 hours away from me, local group in Fort Collins. There's 5 guys in the room for the first few months, so I'm one of the original guys in the local group here. And I didn't know which way was up either. Sure, making money, I got my stuff together, but my relationship is a surprise, a complete shock. She's not happy. So I found this work too. So with you, it's almost how long have you guys been married, if I can ask, Brian?
Almost 11 years.
Yeah. So do you even, this is a dumb question, but do you remember who you were 11 years ago, the man you were then?
No, I fell into that trap where we had kids. I took a job. I work a lot. I go to work. I come home. I go to work. I come home, repeat 10 years later. That's who I am. She's got, her own life. She stays home with the kids. She does all these things. And I'm too much. She's my whole life pretty much. And I hate that. And then when this gets dropped, it's like, holy shit, what do I get? What do I have? What do I work for? What is?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. So you're in the right place. Is there one thing that you've brought into your life that you feel good about? And I keep going back to lifting weights and things, because that's a great one, right? Is there something you brought back into your life that you feel good about, Brian?
Not really. I mean, early on, I saw something that was like, pretend like you're divorced. So with my kids, I pretty much just do what I want with them instead of trying to, be a family and stuff. So that's been really positive. I can see huge improvement there. So I spend a lot of time with them, and got a few job opportunities lined up. I think I'm gonna stop working so much, just kind of find my own time and figure out money and all that stuff.
Good for you. Yeah. How old are your kids?
6 and 8.
Oh, they're in the fun years. Between 5 and 12 are the most fun for me anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care so much, and a lot of the resentment comes from I buried myself in work when they were little because I don't know, what do I do? And now I love being with them, and it's like, oh, now you're this guy, it's too late.
It's not too late
for her.
So it's yeah. Well, that's what she's saying, and you've heard of the expression, you add the words right now onto the end of what she says. You've heard that?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, unless she cuts your penis off in the middle of the night, there's really, once you go past that line, you can't really go back. Yeah. Even if you have the Millennium Falcon, David, you're hurting then. But yeah, it's a little joke, Brian, but
let's keep Lorena Bobbitt out of this. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Please. So Brian, okay, I'm going to be an amazing father because that's the man that I want to be. I'm going to cut back on my work because why am I killing myself every minute of the day when really there's a lot of life to be lived outside of work, of course. Right. Mm-hmm. And I've accidentally put her on the back burner, or not even on the stove, for the past 11 years, accidentally thought I was doing everything that I was supposed to be doing, making money, leading as a man, career, but she's kind of felt alone and abandoned, most likely, and kind of betrayed in that way. Yeah. And she has this whole other life now. So I don't have a place in her life. I'm not even on the list of priorities, probably. Sounds like, is that fair?
Spot on.
Yeah. So this is really common, right? I was in that spot too. So your kids first, what's next? Do you play hockey? Are you going to do like a racquetball team? You know, what are you going to do for your own self to move your body, get around other guys, potentially a sport, something like that?
I don't know. I'm struggling with that. Honestly, I don't know. I know I need to do something, but I don't know what.
Yeah, that'll come, and I could push you on it right now. But when you said act as though you're divorced already.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. The nice way that I say it is the alien abduction story. Yeah. So the flying saucer comes out of the clouds, beams her in the tractor beam, the Death Star tractor beam, and she's never to be seen again, right? She's gone from the planet altogether. An alien abduction story is a nice way to say that. Right? What do you see yourself getting into, maybe? If you didn't have any of the time thinking about her, all that effort and time worrying about the relationship, if that was just all behind you because you grieve the loss of her being abducted by aliens, where do you think that would go for your life? Still be an amazing dad, you'd still make money, but what else?
Yeah, I mean, I need hobbies, that's for sure. Get into fishing again. I used to, do all sorts of stuff for myself. Make friends. I don't really I just want something else to focus on besides for work and home. And,
yeah.
I'm struggling with that. I really am.
Do you have fishing gear?
Yeah, it's pretty dusty, but yep. Dust it off.
So you could dust it off and go for a Saturday if you needed to or wanted to, or a Thursday or whatever, right?
Yeah, and just I'm going. I don't care. If you're coming or if you have plans, it's just
Okay. I grew up in Minnesota, but I don't fish. That's kind of blasphemous. So you got to tell me, what's the best time of year to fish where you are?
Yeah, probably springtime before it gets too hot. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the next 4 weeks, you got to find a day to go fishing for yourself. Yeah. There's a challenge for you.
I think I can do that.
Good. I know you can do it. Yeah. And if you're wanting amazing friends, and this goes for anybody, of course, is post in the forum. Like, hey, who's in my state, or who's in this metropolitan area, or who's in this area of the country? There's guys all over the country in the Good Guys to Great Men forum and Great Men Move Mountains forum, my Facebook forum, which is free. So if you're wanting to reach out to anyone, Brian, you could certainly do that. Hey, who's in my area, right? These are awesome guys, of course.
Yeah, good idea.
Well, glad you're here. Thanks for dancing with me. It seems like that was maybe one of the first conversations that you've had about this.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So guys, we have about 20 minutes left today. I'm going to share one more slide. Well, 2 more slides with you. I see some other guys turn their cameras on. Steve's here, Caesar, of course. Loving you guys come on in. Jeff came on the call too. Good to see you, Jeff. Ben's here. Barry, nice picture, Barry. That's cute. Barry's here. Matt, Carl, Martin. Michael's here too. Love you guys. I'll share a couple more slides and then we'll have a little bit more time. So this is from the book Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller. And this has to do with how we're seeing ourselves within the story of our life. And Donald Miller frames that there's 4 roles within a story: the victim, the villain, the hero, and the guide. And what we're wanting to be, of course, is move into the place of, let's say, the hero. We're facing a challenge, like every hero in every story is facing a challenge. And this says the one willing to face their challenges and transform. And the hero within a story is offered assistance by some kind of guide. And the guide is the one who helps the hero. Now, if we don't move into the place of the hero, we can easily slide into victim, the one who feels they have no way out, right? The victim doesn't face their challenges. They just collapse into themselves. They feel like they have no way out, at least in that moment. Or maybe you're a victim who wants to feel empowered at the expense of other people, and that's the villain, the one who makes others small. Instead of trying to face their challenge and take ownership of the challenge themselves, they project that and externalize that onto others, power over others, maliciously using others. That's the villain. And so part of who are we being in our story is discussed in this book. It's a great book. I'd recommend it to everyone. I'm having my private membership group get this right now and read this right now. Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller. So who are we being within our story? Are we the protagonist of our own story? Now let's do this one more slide. Why is masculine frame a good thing? So again, I typed this up today. I'd love for someone to jump in or see from your point of view what masculine frame means to you. And is it a good thing? Why is masculine frame a good thing? It helps give yourself direction and self-assurance. If we are drifting, if we are uncertain of which way to put our efforts in the world, we don't feel very good within our masculine energy. Okay, masculine energy is directed. It wants to feel purpose. It wants to feel like it's accomplishing something, whether it's painting a picture or curing cancer, whatever that may be. The masculine energy within us wants to feel direction. We want to feel like we're being at service to the world in some way, or at service to ourselves spiritually or something, in some way at service. So having frame gives you direction and self-assurance. It helps you garner respect and magnetizes people to you, and it creates polarity in your relationship. So again, we have about 20 minutes left. I'd love for someone to come in and talk about this. Are you attempting to bring polarity into your relationship? Are you trying to bring direction into your own life and you're struggling with that in some way? Come on in. Unmute yourself. Anybody?
I'll do it.
Who's that? Barry, yeah, go for it.
That's Barry, yes, Jeff, thank you. I'm kind of, further along than some, but not quite where that one gentleman is yet. I was really impressed with, I forgot the names, I think it was John, how he was wallowing and struggling in January, February, and now kind of the tables have turned. So, I'm trying to get there. It's been a number of years for me, and I'm definitely well past, the hummingbird and the responding to every little thing, so much better than I was. But still, like, the timing of this call is perfect, because just this morning, my wife got all upset, and I'm like reacting instead of responding, a little upset myself over her reaction. So, it's the same stuff everyone's dealing with, and it's it's just every day and every minute, the masculine, just the values that I'm trying to focus on and just remind myself, are always there. I find that in these situations, they help me kind of move past that reaction a lot quicker than in the past, and sort of come back down to earth and get to a more stable place. But it's still a challenge. It still feels like I'm not totally there in terms of my confidence and my masculine energy. And like, just, every one of these little incidents, I think I look back, I'm like, damn, why did I get emotional? Why did I let that trigger me? Why couldn't I have just kind of remained amused and remained calm and just, curious and just matter of fact? But that's the reality. So I don't know if any of that makes sense.
Absolutely.
That's
thanks for
where I am, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, Barry. I appreciate it. Can I ask you about this scenario? Like, what was the specific scenario this morning that was tough for you?
Yeah, dude, of course. I didn't know how many details to share, but so this I think will maybe resonate with a lot of people. Just the overall concept. My wife is a massage therapist, and every now and then she has a few clients that she'll see at our home instead of somewhere else. So, and when she has a client come to our home, she gets really, really kind of antsy and edgy about everybody being quiet or everybody being gone from the house and just respecting her time. So that's fine. I always try to do that. However, earlier this week, she made me aware of some, there's a little bit of water damage on one of the eaves underneath our roof. And she's like, this needs to be repaired immediately. Like, okay. So I found a guy to fix it. And of course, the guy texts me about 2 hours ago that he's coming today, right when she has this massage appointment coming. So here I am trying to kind of respect both of these things and honor her in two different ways, but they're conflicting. So I was like, the guy texted me he's coming today. I'll try to make sure that he's not starting or working while your appointment is here, so there's no noise. And instead of like appreciating that, she got pissy because she just pissy and edgy during the whole time, regardless of what I said. So instead of like being, don't worry about it, I'm leaving, he's not going to work yet, and just walking away, I was like, well, why are you mad? I'm trying, I got into it. I responded.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I shouldn't have done. So that was the scenario. So, it ended up like the guy showed up to work and I'm like, dude, you can't start yet. You got to wait an hour and 15 minutes. And he was fine with that. And I went inside to tell my wife before I left. I'm like, the guy's here, but I told him he can't work. And again, I'm like expecting her to thank me and like, oh, okay, thank you. That's good. And she's just pissed because I'm even in the house or even talking or even, alive at this moment when she's trying to, have her appointment. So that's what happened. I left. I'm sitting here in the parking lot at Lowe's right now, and I'm listening to this call, and it's, I was upset for about 20 minutes, and now I'm like, fuck, I'll probably apologize for just not, for even even doing anything, because I know how she is, and hopefully she realizes that I was still trying to honor her in both of those ways. But either way, she's pissed off that, it happened.
Yeah, this is really good, Barry. And we'll see with the amount of time that we have. And if you're willing, I'd like to dig in a little bit more. And you and I don't know each other. So please, consider that. What do you feel like you have to apologize for? There's a few different things I want to ask you, but one, you said, maybe I'll go back and maybe I'll apologize because why?
Yes. So and I don't know that it's necessary, but I feel like it's a little bit nebulous, Jeff, but I mean, like the whole situation around when she has an appointment at the house, it's happened so many times. I should know by now. Don't talk about it. Don't tell her what you're doing if the guy's coming to work or whatever. Just get the fuck out of the house and make sure there's no noise and tell her later after the fact. And if I would have just done that, like, I don't think she cared that the guy was coming or he wasn't coming or he's starting or he's not starting. She just needed some peace and quiet in the house for her appointment. And I thought I was trying to provide that or just update her on that. But once I get within 30 minutes or so of that person, her client arriving, I should have known, just, dude, leave it alone, whatever's happening, just make sure there's no noise and then talk about it later. But so it's not that I did some major terrible thing, but I think in the broad scheme of things, I feel like that it's reasonable for me to apologize for that.
I hear what you're saying. And so I may disagree with some of the things you said. And I don't know you, so take this right now. Yes, I 100% agree that if you know that she's just a shit show within an hour of a client coming over, and just generally overall in life, our woman wants us just to handle stuff like that. She just wants us to handle it. Okay. Yeah. So and second piece, if you went to her thinking that she was going to pat you on the head, like you're a good little boy, you were kind of insinuating, I don't need that, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. That's fair to say. Now, I have done trainings on when I should apologize and when I should not apologize. And the crux is, do you feel you violated your integrity in some way? Like, did you violate an actual value of yours or of hers potentially, but it does not sound like you have.
I guess it's kind of gray. I mean, no, I guess if you had to go black or white, no, I didn't necessarily violate a value, but I feel like, I don't know, everything I described, Jeff, I know the scenario. She's not a shit show, but she just has told me, and I've learned, and it's very clear.
Yeah.
Just give it some space in that scenario. And I tried to, but I didn't. So.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. So it's up to you whether now here's another piece of the apologizing. And I want to ask about, there's another piece in here too. So if I apologize to someone who is looking down on me at the moment, or is contemptuous of me, if I apologize to someone who's contemptuous of me in this moment, it's not going to help. In fact, it usually discuss
lower. It puts you lower in their eyes than you already were. Is that what? That's
right, because you're already like Contemptuous means she feels like she's better than you. You know, when the person gets like the scrunched face, like you're a piece of shit kind of look.
Yeah.
That's contemptuous. Okay. I would never in a million years apologize to someone who looks contemptuous at me, because it's only going to look, it's going to make it look like I'm groveling, or, you know, it's not going to go well. They already have no respect for me in that moment. Why would they respect my apologies? Another way to say it. Okay. So if she's pissed at you, which it sounds like is a running thing around this, my massage therapist, by the way, works out of her house half the time too, which is funny. But anyway, so it's not, I don't think it's your wife. I hope not. Anyway, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't recognize your kid, so I don't think. So, but now I'm going over to, it wouldn't be okay with me, and I'm going to overstep here a little bit, Barry, on purpose. It wouldn't be okay with me if my woman was shitty to me around like her business in some way. It wouldn't be okay if there's a chronic, she's now being a bitch to me. I wouldn't say it that way, but that just wouldn't be okay. If, let's say every time I'm going to mow the lawn, I'm a giant asshole for an hour before I mow the lawn, that's not going to be okay with anybody, right? And but point being, it sounds like maybe there's a place, and I don't know you, Barry, so you tell me. Sounds like there may be a place for you to say, not when you just get home today, but you may say, hey, the anxiety and the raised level of upset around work needs to shift. Like, we need to shift this energy in some way. That may be a little far down the road, and I may be throwing the ball too far down the road, Barry. But talk with me about that, of the way she's acting, and have you just been enabling that, or where's that been for you?
No, I used to enable it, but I mean, I don't think I enable it much these days. But this particular situation, you know, she sees it as like a matter of respect. Like, I'm supposed to be respecting her time and her work, and when someone's in our house, and it's hard when it's on a Saturday at 12:30 in the afternoon, right?
Right.
And we're doing stuff, and so I don't know, man.
Well, I'm not here to get you in trouble, Barry, first of all. Okay. So, like, you can do whatever you want to do, is my point. You're going to do whatever you want to do. I'm curious if here's where I think you can kind of see where the ball is going. What I'm seeing, and I haven't met you, is, okay, there's this time, which happens quite frequently, where my wife thinks it's okay to treat me badly. And that's not really okay with me. That's a non-starter for me.
Yes.
Is that okay? So if that's the case, either I'm just going to kowtow and like try to make her happy by fucking tap dancing, and then always being in the wrong because I've told you, blah, and all of her anxiety just floods over everything, and it's your fault kind of thing. So she has this, she has this unabashed anxiety, it's uncontrollable almost anxiety around that time. So that's a concern in and of itself. If I apologize, if I kowtow, if I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, sweetie, that I made any noise, that I'm breathing, that I'm alive. Like, no, that's not masculine frame. That's her frame. That's mommy's mad, and I need to try to make mommy happy so mommy doesn't cause waves and punish me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So what are you worried about? And again, I'm slamming this into the last few minutes here, Barry. What are you worried about if you were to say, stand up about, like, hey, the anxiety feels like it's really hard for you. It's really hard for me. I want to figure out a way to do this a little differently, so you're more relaxed and I don't feel like I'm getting a boot shoved up my ass every time you have a client come over, I
feel like she would just say, I mean, we already know the answer to that, Jeff. That's kind of what I was getting at, is like, that's a reasonable thing to say. But I think she's going to say, well, there's nothing to resolve. You know that when I have an appointment that I just need a little time and peace, and not you telling me about some 5 minutes before before my appointment is here, or while they're actually sitting in the driveway, So I think that's the reaction I would get.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So where I'm going, Barry, is aside from today, aside from this one scenario today, it seems as though, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems as though she doesn't treat you very well around these times chronically.
Yeah, I would say that's true. It depends on what I do, you know. I mean, if I just kind of get out of the way and I know, okay, she has an appointment at 1 o'clock, so at 12 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and just leave, or I'm going to go somewhere else, or just be quiet. And then it doesn't even become an issue. Then that's, I don't know if that's kowtowing to her or not, but I feel like that's not unreasonable for me to do. And it's not that frequent either. So I think, like, if I don't do that, then we get into this realm of giving her the chance to treat me poorly and me, reacting to it.
Yeah, and so again, Barry, I'm not disagreeing. If you're happy to stay out of her hair during that time slot for the rest of your life, and this never leaks into other areas of your relationship, then cool. But this theme of she feels justified to treat you badly at a certain time is one thing I would explore that with you more. I'm not trying to pigeonhole your wife. That just seems to be the scenario I'm feeling. And
no, it's true. It's accurate.
Okay.
And it's not, it definitely happens in other situations. It's less than it used to be. But you're accurate. You're definitely not off base there.
Okay, and here's the next piece of where that goes for you, Barry, and for everyone is that, okay, now maybe I want to escalate sexually, or now maybe I want to stand up for something that's important to me and speak up for something that's important to me, or I want to try something different with her in an intimate way, but I'm like afraid she's going to be mad at me, or if she just feels like she has this past to treat me badly and I won't stand up for myself, it's really hard for me as a man to have direction, to escalate intimately. It becomes a slippery slope with a lot of these things. And
yeah, that's true.
Okay.
That's absolutely true. But it's a lot less slippery for me. Like, I'm a lot more comfortable standing up, for those types of things now. It doesn't, the sex thing isn't even on the table, but I'm in a much better place with those kind of feelings and those kind of actions.
Yeah, good, Barry. And I'm pushing you a little bit because you said you're not at the starting line, but you're not, all the way where you want to be yet. So where do you want to be? What's the next step for you of what you want to practice skills wise or in your life?
Just more. I mean, it's just everything you guys coach. I mean, being entirely confident and self-reliant in my own frame, in my own energy, so that, these situations, and they're a lot less frequent, but that when they come up, I'm not upset. I'm like, okay, I get it. You're anxious, whatever, but I am totally the mountain lion. And I think that's kind of my ultimate goal, is to just get to that place, and for myself and for my family.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's Barry. Do you know how to juggle 3 tennis balls, Barry? Can you juggle?
I can. I've tried to juggle in the past, and I never really practiced or really put a lot of effort to it, but I'm not a juggler. I do not know how to juggle.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I learned how to juggle just 3 tennis balls, basically. And
yeah,
I ask because it's not that hard, but you can imagine in your mind, but if you actually spend a little time, point being, what I'm about to say isn't that hard, but it takes time to practice. The juggling of, okay, I'm focused on my work and I'm joyous about my own life. And then the next moment, my woman's in the kitchen and I need to reset myself and be in a lover type of frame. Right? And then in the next moment, she's mad at me and I need to juggle the 3rd tennis ball. She's mad at me and I would love to just be able to have a little smile on my face or concern in my face, but it not blow me over. And these are completely different energies for us as a man. We'd love to just focus on work and not have to have any drama, or we'd love for.
But aren't all three of those ultimately the same energy, right? Aren't you still like, you handle them in different ways in terms of what you present or what is outbound, but whether it's work or wife or whatever, isn't it all the same kind of underlying, like, I'm good, I'm comfortable in my values, and whether it's bad or whether she's angry or whether it's about work or whatever, that you kind of maintain that stability throughout whatever.
That's right. That's right. And so part of the juggling is I need to be so good at it I can just do it without really thinking about it much.
Yeah.
Okay. Or when I'm first starting to juggle, I have to
doing
focus.
it becomes that you get to the point where it is, like Steve always says, right? It's not a place you're trying to get to, it's a place you're coming from.
That's right. That's right. And the story underneath is what's important. So the alien abduction story I was talking with Brian about, or, you know, David completely switched his mindset on where he's coming from. Like he felt all the shame inside of himself when really he learned that was put upon him, let's say, at different times in our life. So we recreate these stories, we rewrite these stories. And so for you, Barry, you know, maybe I'm Fonzie, or I'm just like the cool collected guy. When she gets all ruffled, I think about how her nipples are probably hard underneath her shirt, you know, or something where you add some cherry on top to the story. Like, I wonder if she's, I don't want to be too lewd here, but you know, I'll think of, yeah, like, ooh, she's getting all angry.
Repeat that one more time. Start back with the Fonzie, because I love Fonzie, first of all, and I totally heard you, but I didn't get all of it.
Sure. So there's two pieces. The first piece is just thinking something sly, like overtly sexual about her. You know, she's all ruffled and her face is getting red and she's jumping up and down. I wonder if her nipples are getting hard underneath her shirt.
In a moment of when she's actually angry.
That's what I said. And if you're able to do that in your mind without looking like a creep, you know, that's why I said juggling, because this is, you know, you have compassion for her. I'm not oogling her breasts. I have compassion for what she's saying. Okay. Part of me has compassion. Part of me knows this is not my fucking problem, basically.
Yep.
And then part of me is like, I wonder how her nipples look right now.
Yeah.
Because she's my lover. The overarching theme of me being the protagonist of my story is this woman is my lover. I'm not treating her like my therapist, as we said. I'm not ignoring her accidentally, you know, autopiloting my life like I've certainly done. She's my lover. So when she walks into the room, I'm checking myself. I've taught all these things, like I'll teach them again another time. I'm checking myself. If she's got something upset, it's not like it's my fault. She's just talking. She's giving me information, and she's my lover. So I wonder what color bra she has on, or I wonder if her pussy's wet right now, or I wonder if her, you know, ass cheeks are bouncing up and down when she runs from the therapy room to the other. Like, these are just things that I want to think about my woman. So I sneak those in, but it's a juggling act of if you don't have the other pieces, then it's not lover energy. If you don't have the thinking about her nipples once in a while, then you're not in lover energy with her. Yeah.
Well, I want to be. Yeah. I mean, I like those things, and I certainly do. I think about some other things anyway, kind of naturally, just being good, sexual or perverted or whatever.
Yeah, but,
it's no, I love that approach, and it's like the whole thing about just being curious instead of furious, right?
That's good. I haven't heard that one. I haven't heard that rhyme. So that's the first piece, is the sexual kind of piece, the lover. The second piece is knowing what she's been through in her life and having compassion overall for what she's been through in her life, not treating her like a victim, not treating her like she's broken, but having compassion for the childhood that she's had, you know, the way that she's been raised by her mother or culture, or the, you know, experiences, or that she's working right now and she's trying to do 3 things at once. Having compassion for those.
All of those are highly relevant, right? She had a tough childhood. She was sexually abused. Her parents were not great. So all of that is highly relevant for me.
Yeah, very right. Exactly. So maybe I wouldn't mess with her during that hour before or after she has work, but I'd be like.
Let's go to that real quick. And I know we got to be done. We're at time. But so if I'm not going to go back, I'm definitely not planning to grovel. But if I'm not going to apologize, like, hey, I know that, you know, I should have just handled it and been quiet. And, you know, I feel like it's reasonable. And appropriate to apologize for that. But if I was not going to do that, Jeff, what would you recommend I do in this exact situation?
That's really good. So I'll tell you exactly what I would do. It's rare that we want to just run to them and apologize unless we blatantly violated our own values and integrity. Okay. So what I would do is I would act normal. And if she's upset or pissed off, what I'm about to say, you would do anytime. So if she's upset or pissed off, hey baby, good to see you. You know, hi honey. I don't know where you are with all that, Barry. So, hey, it's good to see you. And
Yep.
maybe she's grumpy. So I just let her be grumpy for 2 or 3 minutes, you know,
Yep.
and if 2 or 3 minutes go by, I walk over and I make small talk or something. And if she's still grumpy, I'll say, hey, it looks like something's on your mind, or it seems like you're upset about something. What's up? I would do that practice, what I just said, no matter what anyway. And then if she says, you bothered me within 1 hour of my work,
She's going to say, you don't respect my time or my work. That's what she's going to say, right?
Okay. So I would say, you know what? You're totally right. I did bother you within that hour and I apologize. And I could totally see how that would seem disrespectful to you. You're right.
Okay.
But
so
I wouldn't
saying kind of draw it out of her before I just go right to, hey, I know that I should have given you that time.
So yes, but I'm not expecting that I have to apologize here. So I'm not like drawing out what I know to be certain.
Well, I know to be certain if I say, hey, it looks like something's on your mind, she's going to be like, yeah, you fucking asshole. I told you, and I know, you know, and I know when we've been through this and you don't respect me.
Good. So let's think of the 2x2 matrix here. Okay. Let's say the first matrix is exactly like you said, and we play it my way, and she's, you know, brings it up, and then you apologize. Okay. Let's say she's not really upset and you run to her and you say, oh, I'm so sorry that I bothered you during the 1 hour around your time. Okay. Now you're reminding her how you didn't remember and you disrespected her, even though it wasn't an issue in the first place. Yeah. Or let's say, right. Or let's say the other direction is, if I don't give a shit, then I'm not going to apologize no matter what, that's not cool.
No.
Otherwise, if she's there, is she going to stand at home like this, tapping her toe and then like, okay, I'm ready for your apology now. You know, is she going to do that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I fucking wouldn't apologize to that woman anyway. Like I don't play that. So all these scenarios that I'm playing out here, it doesn't hurt you to do what I said, which is, hey, how you doing? Give her a couple minutes. This is practice for all of life. And if she's still upset, you ask her like, hey, it seems like something's up. This is practice for all of life. Yeah. You already know, asshole, blah, blah, blah.
Even when I know exactly what's on her mind, you take that approach like, hey, it seems like something's wrong, and act like I don't know.
It's horrendously dangerous to assume you know what's on a woman's mind. That is a horrible idea.
That's fair, but I mean, right this minute with me, I know why she's upset with me.
Well,
I mean, there's not a lot of doubt. I agree with you in general, but right now, there's a lot less doubt than usual.
Okay, fair, Barry, but I'm teaching something for a reason, right? Which is, it's bad. It might be true and correct now, but that doesn't mean it's a great practice to continue.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And so the good practice is, in my opinion, from us just meeting today, to let her say she's pissed and then apologize if that's true.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, I just get the hunch that there's probably too much apologizing overall happening. I get the hunch that you want to practice what I'm teaching you here, which is, how do I actually draw her out, or how do I be in my own frame more often? That's really those are some of the nuances of why I'm telling you what I'm telling you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Great stuff, guys. I love being here with you guys. We ran out of time. If you have a question, or if you think of a question, put it into the forum. I'm in the roundtable forum. I'm not in the Diffuse the Divorce Bomb forum. So I'm in the roundtable. I'm in my forum, the Great Men Move Mountains forum. And if you want to join us over there, greatmenmovemountains.com/Facebook, I believe. Yeah. And then that'll get Facebook. That's right. greatmenmovemountains.com/Facebook. Or if you have other questions, guys, let me know. I'm here for you. I'm going to be here for you. I've been here for years. I'm going to be here for years. Larry, appreciate you. David, Brian, Caesar, good to see you, buddy. Everybody else that's on here, JT, Tim, David, you guys are awesome. Franklin, Evan, Mr. Jones. See you guys next time. Have a good weekend. Ciao, guys.